Shakespeare brings it all together now in Act 5, as one would be expected to do in a final act. It's called the denouement in French. More simply, we can just call it the conclusion, meaning that all the threads of the plot are tied together and brought to a satisfactory ending. The threads have been many a number. I have talked from the beginning about how Shakespeare has rather cleverly kept together all of these characters. Now we're going to see all of them. We start off with the Athenian characters. The workmen are going to put on their play in front of them, and then the fairies will enter at the end to bless their marriages and the children of those marriages. Here's the final situation with that love quadrangle. It's now turned out the way that the audience was supposed to want it to turn out from the beginning of the play. The quarreling lovers, who of course reached in extreme in wrong contacts and connections in the middle of the play, have now reached their final situation. Hermia and Lysander want to marry each other and can, and Demetrius and Helena want to marry each other for whatever strange reason and can. How does this all get put together? The play of Pyramus and Thisbe becomes the entertainment for the wedding. First, we have Theseus and Hippolyta discussing the strange stories that the lovers have been telling them. Theseus' long answer is one of the best-known speeches of the play. It's a beautiful one. Shakespeare, the poet, the creative man, writes about how love and poetry are similar. Theseus says, "The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact." A couple lines later, the lover sees Helen's beauty in a brow of Egypt. He says the poet's eye looks around and sees other things differently from the way they really are. In other words, the poet's unique vision of the world is similar to the lover's vision in that he can see no wrong in his loved one, and he seems crazy at times, as we've seen in the theme of love throughout this play. Theseus concludes this with the famous line, "How easy is a bush supposed to bear?" Having already worked out all his love relationships, Shakespeare, preparing to end the comedy, as comedies his and others tend to end, the group of marriages, he focuses on the play within a play. Just as in Hamlet, just as The Taming of the Shrew, which is actually all a play put on for a character who's met at the beginning of that one, Shakespeare again shows that all the world's a stage by giving the final part of the story mostly to the workmen, although the fairies are going to make an important last appearance, which we'll talk about later. First of all, there's a little prelude to all of this, where Theseus reads the different entertainments that can be presented, and then he reads these words. It's his second long line in Act 5. "A tedious brief scene of young Pyramus and his love Thisbe, very tragical mirth." Do you remember what this is called in literary terminology? Paradox, where something seems to be an opposite, but it has a meaning. Theseus explains paradox simply by saying hot ice. And a man whose name I am not going to try to say, who has a very small part, says that, well, a play can be brief and yet be tedious because it's such a bad play. A play can, which is exactly what will happen in this case, be tragical because of the deaths of Pyramus and Thisbe, but it will have mirth because it's so funny. Obviously, this intrigues Theseus, and so he decides to have the play put on for him. Pyramus and Thisbe is a serious story. To tell it briefly, as it is told in Ovid, Pyramus and Thisbe are two lovers whose parents have refused to let them marry or even meet each other. There's a wall in between them. They meet at night to whisper through the wall and they decide to meet at Ninus' tomb. That meeting goes very badly as Thisbe meets a lion that plays with her veil that has fallen off. The lion happens to be bleeding. Pyramus finds the bloody veil and concludes very recklessly and foolishly, but this is the stuff of some tragedy, that Thisbe is dead. Oh, there's her veil with some blood on it, and there was a lion here. The lion killed her, so he kills himself. Thisbe comes upon him dead, kills herself. The similarities to one of Shakespeare's most popular plays is pretty obvious. Lovers forbidden to meet by their parents get together anyway. Both end up dead. The woman comes upon the man dead and decides, I'll kill myself, the irony being that he thought she was dead when he really wasn't. Anyway, that's Pyramus and Thisbe. What the workmen make of it is quite another matter.
So, please, Your Grace, the prologue is addressed.
Let it approve.
If we offend, it is with our goodwill. That you should think we come not to offend, but with goodwill, to show our simple skill. That is the true beginning of our end. Consider then we come but in despite. We do not come as minded to contest you. Our true intent is all for your delight. We are not here that you should hear repent you. The act is our hand, and by their show you shall know all that you are like to know.
One thing that Shakespeare obviously feels adds to the mirth and hilarity in the scene, but which I don't think very highly of, is the heckling by the watchers. Starts off with Theseus and Hippolyta making fun of the prologue, and then when the wall speaks, Demetrius says, "It is the wittiest partition that ever I heard discourse." And it goes on like that. I could give more examples. Hippolyta's line, "This is the silliest stuff that ever I heard," pretty much sums up their reaction. Hecklers may think they're funny. They may think they're showing themselves to be superior to whoever is on stage. But obviously from a performer's point of view, and I've been one, and it is a very unpleasant thing. Jesus tells us to treat others as we would like to be treated. If we were on stage having rehearsed and done our best, as we've seen the workers doing in previous scenes, maybe we're doing a bad job but didn't know it, which these poor clownish men certainly don't know. I don't think we would want people who consider themselves superior, both, of course, in class, rank, and in awareness of what is well done and what is not, to be making the kind of jokes that Theseus, Hippolyta, and the other couples are making. For me personally, it turns me off a little to these four characters, the young lovers who had, after all, been looking pretty foolish themselves a couple of acts beforehand.
Deflower, my dear. Empower, my dear. Deflower. Shut up. Deflower, my dear. Oh, who is? Oh, no. No. Who was the very dame that ever lived? Not like a moat with cheer. Oh, come, dear. Confound. Outsword and wound the top of pyramids. I, the left back, the heart goes home. Thou dost thy eye. Now am I dead? Now am I fled? My soul die. Tongue, lose thy light. Moon, take thy flight. Now, die! Die! Die!
Among the jokes that Shakespeare puts into this is the ridiculous alliteration that we've already seen about his bloody, blameful blade bravely broached his boiling, bloody breast. Also, when Pyramus and Thisbe are whispering through the wall, Pyramus says, "To spy and I can hear my Thisbe's face." That would be a difficult thing to do. And I like Thisbe's last line, "And farewell, friends, thus Thisbe ends. Adieu, adieu, adieu." These can all be performed in a very silly way, of course. I have seen the wall character hold his arms out, stomping around in a very straight and upright way, like a stone wall would do. And I've seen, of course, flute as Thisbe do a squealing feminine voice, which makes the character particularly ridiculous. It's finally over with a dance of clowns, given the director and perhaps the music writer and choreographer for the play, if there are any, something to do, and it's all over, except that the fairies enter one more time.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended. You was but slumbered here, while all of these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme, no more yielding to entry. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. And as I'm an honest part, we have unearned luck now to escape the serpent's tongue. We'll make amends ere long, else the puck
No longer spreading mischief and somewhat questionable magic, we now see the fairies in a very positive light. It's a poetic image on stage, Puck with the broom, saying he's sweeping the dust away. Oberon and Titania come, and as I've noted before, bless the marriages, bless their future children. And then we have Puck's final line. Very much in the spirit of last lines in other Shakespeare comedies, like As You Like It or Twelfth Night, in which one of the characters addresses the audience and, as Shakespeare again and again would do, reminds us that we know that they're on stage, we know this is a theater, and rather than trying to fully maintain the illusion anymore, we will have a final bit of interaction between character and audience. If this offended you in any way, then, appropriately for the theme of the play, just imagine that it was a dream. It's an appropriate ending, I think, after all the dreaminess, the night world that we have seen. And it's a good ending to A Midsummer Night's Dream, one of Shakespeare's justifiably, whatever its small weaknesses in plot, most popular comedies.